Okay, I'm going to show an example of how to use the Sado object. I'm requiring my bootstrap here. I have my instance here registered as the first connection. You can add multiple connections here. For this example, I'm only using one. So I'm going to go ahead and fetch an instance of that connection. I only have one instance set up, so I don't have to set what instance I want here. If I had multiple connections, I could say I want 2 here, connection 2, 3, or so on. But I'm just grabbing the first, so I don't need to say anything. Next, I can test the connection to the database. So I can say if this will actually test the database connection, see if it's valid. I can refresh here and I have success. Okay, in this example, I'm going to be using a users table with these 4 fields, so just some basic data to work with. Sometimes you might need to get your instance ID or connection ID. That can be retrieved with instance ID. So it's connection 1, so you can always get the connection ID with that method. Okay, next I'm going to show how to select records. So I'm going to do a simple select here. Okay. Now one method is to, I could say that, and the variable R would be set with the records. However, there's a simpler way to do it. First I'm going to check if there's actually any rows that were retrieved, so I'm going to check the number of rows. So I can do something simple like that. So now I can loop through the records if I wanted to. I could say for each get records. And I can echo like the user full name. So this is going to be an array of the records. Say you just wanted to get the first record. You could say and echo user full name, and then I could repeat that here, and you can keep going down the list. So that just gets the next record in line. And at any point, you can hit a true flag to reset to the start of that. You can also grab the records as an ORM object. So I can say for each DB, get records. And then you're going to pass the ORM class name. So I could have user be the class. So then you can have something like user full name. So the user is actually an ORM object and can have all the methods and properties of the ORM object, and you can use them here simply. So one thing to remember is to protect against SQL injection. There's a very simple way to do that using this library. Sometimes you might have something like where you grab the user ID from the query string from the variable ID. This would not be smart to just leave this way because it would leave it open to SQL injection. So one way to protect this would be you could call the db clean method. this will automatically make the value save for the query. There's also a shorter way to do this now. I can put this in quotes and put brackets around this. So now Sado knows to protect this value automatically. If you're using different quotes here, the double quotes aren't going to work, so you can use single quotes now, and it's going to do the same thing. So this is just a better way of saying something like, you could have something like that in your code, and this is going to know to auto protect that from SQL injection. I'm using select here. You can also just use query. So I could use query select all from users. You can basically do anything from a query. So this is all general kinds of query. I can say insert blah blah blah. I can update from here. It's just kind of a general query function. And delete. But there's also methods to use delete, insert, and update that will save some time. So I can do a simple delete, like if db delete. I'm going to delete from users. I'm going to pass arguments where full name. So I'm going to look at my table. So I'm going to say where full name is John Smith. So when I'm saying if it's deleted, it's not actually checking the affected rows. It's checking if there's no errors. So if this passes, I know this was successfully ran on the database. Now I can check the affected rows. I can say deleted. So I'm going to run that. And I deleted 4. Okay, I hit the wrong file, so I'm going to go ahead and load this again. And now it's going to show deleted 1. I'm going to go to my table. And it removed the John Smith name. Now if I don't pass any array here for the arguments, I can just say delete users. That's just going to basically be the same thing as delete from users. So I can go back here, there should be 3 left. I'll run that, and then it's going to delete the rest of the users. Now I can also check for errors here, so I can say, like if I were to run a select, let's say select, I can say if so I'm going to ask if there was an error. This is where you can do error handling. I could run an error here. I can say if there's not an error, do something here. If there was an error, I can say echo error, and that will print the error. The MySQL error comes from the database. Okay, so now I can insert a record into the table. I've repopulated the table, so back to 4 records. So I can do a simple insert, db insert. I'm going to say the table name, and I'm going to give it a record. So I'm going to say I'm going to run that insert. I'm going to say so I'm going to check the affected rows to make sure that it was inserted, and then I'm going to echo out the insert ID. That's going to be the insert ID that MySQL assigns to that record. So I'm going to come back here, run that. Insert ID is saying is 15. Come back to my table to refresh, and there's record. So that's very simple to do an insert. And just the same way, updating is very easy. So I can say update table users, and I want to change full name. And I'm going to give my arguments. This is going to be the where arguments. And again, I can check my affected rows, which will just echo them out. Go ahead and run that. So it says one affected row. I can come back here, check my table, and it was changed. The name was changed. So that's very simple to do an update as well. You can also call store procedures from the DB instance with call. First parameter is the name of the store procedure. So put the name, and then you can add as many arguments as you want. So I can say it needs a user ID passed to the store procedure. I could say user ID of 5. So you have another ID, true or false, flag 4 is active. You just put another instance here and call that. That's simple as it is to call the store procedure. There's another couple useful things that might not be used a lot. You can call get the tables for your connection. So I can call let's go back here and run that, and it's going to show all the tables in the database for this connection. I can also show the fields, table fields. So I can say get model table fields. I'll do it for our users table. Oops. Get model table. So there's the fields in our table, and then I can also try to get the primary key for a table. So I can come back here and pull that. It's going to be user ID as a string. So that's a couple methods that might not be used very often, but can be useful. We talked about selecting earlier. There's also a select builder you can use. I'm not going to go into every method that can be used here, but it's a simple way to build a query. So I can say I'm going to capture my records here, and I'm going to say db select builder. Let's say select user ID and full name from users where is active is 1 is equal to 1. Let's say order by the user ID. I'm going to limit to 2. And finally call get, which returns my records. So let me print my records here. Just a quick example. So run that. It automatically built the query for me. Here I can pass true as a flag to only return the query instead of the records. So then I can print out the query it's going to build. So there's a nice query that it builds for me. So that can be handy sometimes. Finally, the DB can be manually closed with that method. However, you don't have to use that because it's called in the destructor method. And that's it.